A small cardboard box sits abandoned on a lonely Philadelphia road. Inside lies the naked body of a child, bruised and broken. No name. No family searching. No one who seems to care. For over 60 years, America's unknown child would haunt investigators, becoming one of the most heartbreaking cold cases in criminal history. February 26, 1957. The bitter winter wind cuts through the Fox Chase neighborhood as college student Frank Guthrum checks his muskrat traps along Susquehanna Road. What he discovers in that makeshift cardboard coffin will torment him for the rest of his life. The boy appears to be 4 or 5 years old, his small frame bearing the unmistakable signs of violence. Detective Sam Weinstein arrives at the scene, his breath visible in the frigid air. The child's body is pristine in some ways, freshly bathed, hair recently cut, yet the injuries tell a different story. Bruises cover his thin arms and legs. His fingernails are trimmed neat and clean. Someone cared enough to wash him, to cut his hair, but not enough to prevent his death. The contradiction haunts investigators from the very beginning of this mysterious case. The cardboard box that served as his temporary tomb came from a J.C. bassinet. Store records show hundreds sold throughout the Delaware Valley. The blue corduroy cap found nearby becomes another clue leading nowhere. Every lead seems to evaporate like morning mist. Dr. Joseph Spellman performs the autopsy with meticulous care. The boy died from multiple blunt force trauma to the head. His stomach contains traces of baked beans and corn, a final meal that would become another mysterious detail in an already baffling case. No missing person reports match his description. No frantic parents searching for their lost child. Philadelphia police launched the most extensive missing child investigation in the city's history. They canvass orphanages, hospitals, schools, and churches across the entire region. Social workers scour their files. Foster agencies check their records. The boy's fingerprints are compared against every database available. His photograph is distributed to police departments across the nation. Still, no one recognizes the small face staring back from the posters. Detective Weinstein becomes obsessed with the case. He carries the boy's photograph everywhere, showing it to grocery store clerks, gas station attendants, anyone who might have seen this child alive. The detective's own children grow up knowing about the boy in the box. Days turn into weeks, weeks into months. The boy's body is buried in Potter's Field, attended only by police officers and social workers. Even in death, he remains alone. His small gravestone bears only the words "Heavenly Father, bless this unknown boy." The case files grow thick with dead-end leads and false hopes, but investigators refuse to give up. A psychic claims the boy's spirit speaks to her, revealing details about his death. She describes a house with specific architectural features, a basement where violence occurred. Police follow her visions to a property 20 miles away, but find nothing. Another psychic emerges, then another. Each offers tantalizing clues that lead nowhere, adding layers of frustration to an already impossible case that seems destined to remain unsolved. Years pass. Detective Weinstein retires, but passes the case files to younger investigators who inherit his passion for finding the truth. The boy's photograph is enhanced using new technology. His image is age-progressed to show what he might have looked like if he had lived. Television programs feature his story. Newspapers run anniversary pieces. Still, silence. The case seems destined to join the ranks of unsolved mysteries that will never find resolution, despite decades of tireless investigation by dedicated law enforcement professionals. In 1998, 41 years after the discovery, the case takes its first dramatic turn. A woman contacts police claiming to be the boy's sister. Martha calls herself M, to protect her identity, but her story sends shockwaves through the investigation. She describes a house of horrors where children were bought, sold, and abused. Her brother, she claims, was murdered by their foster mother in a fit of rage. The details align perfectly with the physical evidence investigators have preserved for decades. M. leads investigators to a house in the Frankford section of Philadelphia. She describes the basement in vivid detail, the same basement the psychic had envisioned decades earlier. According to Martha, the foster mother bathed the boy after killing him, cut his hair, then abandoned his body. The foster mother Martha identifies died years earlier, taking her secrets to the grave. Neighbors from the 1950s remember the woman as strange and reclusive, but no official records connect her to the boy. Social services files from that era are incomplete or lost entirely. The lead that seemed so promising begins to crumble under scrutiny. Detective Augustine becomes the latest officer to inherit the case. He approaches it with fresh eyes and modern investigative techniques that weren't available to earlier generations of investigators. DNA evidence is collected from the boy's exhumed remains. The sample is compared against missing person databases that didn't exist in 1957. Advanced facial reconstruction technology creates a more accurate representation of what the boy looked like in life. The internet brings new possibilities for solving cold cases. Amateur investigators create websites dedicated to the boy's story. His photograph spreads across social media platforms. True crime podcasts examine every detail of the case with unprecedented thoroughness. Genealogists volunteer their time to trace possible family connections. The boy finally has advocates beyond law enforcement. An army of citizen investigators determined to give him back his name. Their dedication rivals that of professional investigators who have worked the case for decades. In 2002, the boy's remains are exhumed for the second time. Scientists extract better DNA samples using advanced techniques unavailable in previous decades. His mitochondrial DNA profile is entered into national databases with hope for new matches. Investigators hope genetic genealogy might finally provide the breakthrough they've sought for nearly half a century. New theories emerge about the boy's identity. Some investigators believe he was the victim of human trafficking, sold into abuse and murdered when he became inconvenient. Others suspect he came from a dysfunctional family that covered up his death rather than face scrutiny from authorities. Each theory is investigated thoroughly, but conclusive proof remains elusive. The case continues to challenge even the most experienced investigators. The case attracts international attention when it's featured on television programs broadcast worldwide. Tips pour in from across the globe. A woman in California claims the boy resembles her missing nephew. A family in Ohio thinks he might be their lost relative. DNA tests rule out each possibility, but the publicity generates renewed interest in solving the case. Detective Sergeant Bob Kuhlmeier takes over the investigation in 2013. He digitizes every piece of evidence, every witness statement, every lead pursued over 6 decades. The case files now occupy an entire room at police headquarters. Kuhlmeier studies crime scene photographs through a magnifying glass, searching for overlooked clues that might provide new direction. Every detail is scrutinized with modern investigative methods. Advanced imaging technology reveals previously hidden details in the original crime scene photographs. Investigators discover tire tracks that were missed in 1957. The tracks suggest the boy's body was transported in a specific type of vehicle. This narrows the search for possible suspects. Unfortunately, after 60 years, most people who owned such vehicles are no longer alive to question. The passage of time continues to be the investigation's greatest enemy in the pursuit of justice. In 2016, forensic genealogist Colleen Fitzpatrick joins the investigation. She specializes in identifying unknown victims through DNA analysis and family tree construction. Working with the boy's genetic profile, she begins building potential family connections using public genealogy databases. The process is painstaking, requiring months of careful analysis and verification. Fitzpatrick's work leads to several promising family lines, each requiring extensive investigation. Distant relatives are contacted and asked to provide DNA samples for comparison. Most are cooperative, hoping to help solve the mystery. Others are reluctant, fearing their family might be connected to a murder. Each potential match is tested thoroughly, but none proves to be the breakthrough investigators desperately need. The case takes an unexpected turn in 2017 when a tip leads investigators to examine missing person reports from New Jersey rather than Pennsylvania. They discover a child reported missing from Camden in early 1957 who matches the boy's description. The timing and physical characteristics align perfectly, but records from that era are incomplete. Following this New Jersey lead, investigators interview elderly residents who lived in Camden during the 1950s. They uncover stories of children who disappeared without proper investigation. These were victims of a system that didn't adequately protect society's most vulnerable members. The boy in the box might have been just one casualty in a pattern of neglect and abuse that went unreported during that troubled era. DNA analysis of the New Jersey missing child's potential relatives yields promising results. The genetic markers suggest a possible familial connection, but the relationship is too distant to be definitive. Investigators need closer relatives to confirm their suspicions. Tracking down surviving family members proves nearly impossible after 6 decades. As the investigation enters its 7th decade, technological advances continue to provide new avenues for solving the case. Isotope analysis of the boy's hair reveals information about his geographic origins. The results suggest he lived in a specific region of the mid-Atlantic states, helping to narrow the geographic focus of the investigation. This scientific breakthrough provides the most concrete lead about the boy's origins in decades of investigation. Psychological profilers create detailed assessments of the unknown perpetrator based on crime scene evidence and the boy's injuries. They describe someone who knew the child well enough to bathe and groom him after death, suggesting a caregiver relationship. This psychological profile helps investigators focus on suspects who had responsibility for the boy's welfare. The case files now include contributions from dozens of investigators across multiple generations. Each detective has added their own insights and pursued different theories. The collective knowledge represents thousands of hours of investigative work, yet the boy's identity remains stubbornly elusive. His killer has almost certainly died without ever facing justice. The passage of time continues to be the investigation's greatest challenge. In 2021, the most promising lead in decades emerges from genetic genealogy research. A potential match is identified through DNA analysis, pointing to a specific family line in the Delaware Valley. Investigators carefully approach surviving relatives with cautious optimism. They hope this breakthrough might finally provide the answers they've sought for over 60 years. Today, the boy's story continues to captivate the public imagination. His image has become synonymous with unsolved mysteries and forgotten victims across America. True crime enthusiasts study his case with the dedication of professional investigators. His legacy lives on through the countless hours volunteers donate to finding his identity, ensuring he is not forgotten despite dying nameless and alone. The original investigators who worked this case have mostly passed away, taking their memories and insights to their graves. Detective Weinstein died in 2007, still carrying the boy's photograph in his wallet after 50 years. His dedication inspired a generation of investigators who refused to let this case fade into obscurity. Somewhere in Philadelphia, there may still be someone who remembers this boy. Someone who knew his name, who heard his laugh, who witnessed his final moments. That person holds the key to solving America's most enduring cold case, giving peace to a child who has waited over 60 years for justice. The boy in the box reminds us that some victims have no voice except for those who refuse to forget them. In death, he found the family he never had in life. Investigators, volunteers, and advocates who have never stopped searching for his truth. His legacy is not the violence that ended his young life, but the unwavering dedication of those who continue fighting. They fight for justice in his name, ensuring that America's unknown child will never be truly forgotten. His story continues to inspire new generations of investigators, amateur sleuths, and advocates who believe every victim deserves to have their identity restored. The case has evolved from a local Philadelphia tragedy into a national symbol of unsolved mysteries. Advanced forensic techniques continue to provide new hope for solving cases that seemed impossible just decades ago. Every year brings new technological developments that might finally unlock the secrets this case has guarded for over 6 decades. DNA genealogy, isotope analysis, and digital enhancement techniques offer possibilities that early investigators could never have imagined. The boy's grave in Ivy Hill Cemetery has become a place of pilgrimage for those touched by his story. Visitors leave flowers, toys, and notes expressing their hope that he will someday find peace through identification. His headstone now bears a new inscription reflecting the love and dedication of those who have adopted his cause. Though he lived and died without a name, he has become one of the most remembered unknown victims in American criminal history. The investigation remains active, with new leads investigated regularly. Social media campaigns continue to spread his image, hoping that someone, somewhere, will finally recognize the face that has haunted investigators for generations. Cold case units across the country study his case as an example of persistence and dedication. His story teaches new investigators that some cases require decades of patient work, following every lead no matter how small. The boy in the box has become more than just a victim. He represents hope for all unidentified victims who await justice. His case demonstrates that death does not end the search for truth when dedicated people refuse to give up. Modern genetic genealogy has solved cases that seemed impossible, giving new hope to investigators working on America's unknown child. Every scientific advancement brings the possibility that this 7-decade mystery might finally find resolution. Until that day comes, his memory lives on in the hearts of those who continue searching for answers. The boy who died alone has found a family in death, surrounded by people who will never stop fighting for his identity and justice. Someday, science and persistence may finally give him back his name. Until then, he remains America's unknown child, a symbol of every forgotten victim who deserves to be remembered, identified, and given the dignity of their true identity restored.